Hey guys, my name is Ryan and welcome to HitScan. You pretty much know what's coming at this point. We're going to go over each of the main set of heroes that have been changed on the PTR patch and talk about how good they are in comparison to the whole of the game. Kind of a winners and losers, kind of a what's the meta, looking at a lot of stuff that previous support and tank players have said to give us a good indication of where everybody is. I also wanted to shout out Omen by HP in this video. I'll talk about them a little bit more towards the end of this video, as I have a little cute sort of video to show, but I am recording this from Yorkshire. I'm home at the moment, just visiting before Christmas. And also remember that it is Black Friday this week and Cyber Monday next, so there might be some pretty good deals on, so we'll talk a bit about that towards the end of this video. Just a quick shout out to them. Now we're going to start with the tanks for obvious reasons. These were the ones that were changed the most, and we are changing up how we kind of do this, at least for this video, just to sort of go over them in each of their areas. I wanted to start by saying that Arisa is both a winner and a loser for very different reasons. She is a loser because she is a lot worse now in regards to how much damage that she can mitigate with barriers, but then again, so is everybody. It comes as no surprise that Arisa is weaker in this case, but I think Arisa is a winner for two very different reasons. The first is that she's still strong with the fortify movement buffs that she got, but also she's just a lot more fun to play now. She is a lot more engaging and exciting as a tank now than she was before, so even if Arisa is weaker, isn't played as much, those players that still like to play Arisa can still do so, but also will have more fun doing so as well. There's no flowchart to play now of putting down the barrier, trying to break the enemy's barrier, really resident sleeper playstyle. Now you have a much more engaging character who has been really obnoxious in the tank meta for quite a while now, that even if she still is that popular, she's at least going to be a bit more engaging to play. And I think that's a really good thing and something that Blizzard really nailed with this PTR patch. In regards to other winners, Reinhardt is also up there. Reinhardt is much like Anna, always a very popular pick in the competitive scene, especially in the sort of mid tiers of like gold, platinum and above. That's where Reinhardt is played more than Arisa in a lot of cases, and I know a lot of people like myself prefer playing Reinhardt to any of the other tanks. You always had that ability to play him and still do quite a lot, but with the passive effect and movement buff effect that he had buffed on the PTR, he is a much better option and the doors have opened up a little bit more for him to be used. I could definitely see a future meta where he is the best main tank to run right now, but it's a given between him and Arisa at this rate. Being a main tank player would require you to have both skills on Arisa and Reinhardt at the moment, and I think that's a really good thing. I think Reinhardt is an exceptional character that could do quite a lot surprisingly, and also fulfill a role in a team. So the general scope of the game has benefited Reinhardt a lot, and he also was buffed, so it's fair to say that he's a winner. Roadhog, granted he wasn't changed in this patch, is also a winner for the sole reason that he can destroy any barrier very quickly. He can kill Arisas in 4 seconds with 4 shots, and he now has the ability to be the tank that he was meant to be, a shield break anti-tank tank. With now less barriers in the game, he has a bit more freedom to do what he wants. There's a bit more counterplay to some of the other tanks that maybe played a bit. Reinhardt as an example, you can hook him when he has his shield down, really punishing movement there. Sigma can now be hooked out of his suck by you. You can break Arisa's barrier, and if you can get around her fortify, you can, hook her and do quite a lot of damage there. Deva's defense matrix, Roadhog is really going to be a spanner in the works, and I can definitely see in a meta now being similar to way back in the past where flanking Roadhog that plays very independently can still do quite a lot instead of just waiting with the Arisa to do the Halt Hook combo. Again, the freedom of the tanks now compared to what it used to be, though a lot of these tanks are just a lot better. But not all of the tanks are winners like the 3 that I just mentioned. There is another 3 that are really neither winners nor losers. They're just pretty good right now. Sigma's one of them. He was hit pretty hard with some of the nerfs again to his barriers, but certainly one thing that I've noticed and heard from other people as well is that Sigma is still a fairly decent character. He wasn't played an awful lot in the pro pugs, like I've been using some of the gameplay from Numlocked in the background, but he's certainly not a bad pick at the moment. You've just got more options to run in the off-tank slot. So, I mean, Sigma could be a lot worse or a lot better than people are giving him credit for right now. It still remains to be seen, but I don't really see a sense of Sigma just dropping in popularity in a really dramatic sense. But seeing as I just mentioned off-tanks, I did want to mention Zarya. Zarya, again, has had a little bit of a buff on the PTR, with her secondary 5 being buffed a little bit like you've seen on screen, but nothing to really get too excited for. I wouldn't necessarily say that she's a loser because she isn't worse and she isn't a bad option at the moment, but she's not enough of a winner in her own right. I could definitely see her popularity going up alongside Reinhardt. Zarya is one of the more popular off-tank options to run because she's so fun to play, and very impactful, but in comparison to some of the other tanks and how much better they've got or worse they've got, she's not done enough for me to be on either list. She's still just really good, but not amazing like the ones that we've gone over. Wrecking Ball again, whilst I recently said in a video on Saturday saying that Wrecking Ball is pretty good right now, it does depend on where the meta goes. If Dive comes back in short, Wrecking Ball is going to be good, but it's hard to say right now whether he is a standout winner. I think he benefits off the changes to all of the other tanks, seeing as he wasn't changed himself, and I could definitely see Wrecking Ball being more popular now than he ever was. But again, it's not lined up in the same way that it is for some of the other tanks. He could be better, but much like Zarya, it's not really up to him. I suppose it would be when it comes to the meta and how Wrecking Ball slots into it. The losers on the tank list though, I would definitely have to say are Deva and Winston. Deva, she did get a buff to the defense matrix, but we did speak to Evil Toaster earlier last week and said that until Deva gets her range increased on defense matrix, she isn't going to be that popular. The range is a big aspect because you are meant to be following up on your tanks and eating damage, but the effective range that you have as a Deva is just so small. A lot of mistakes can be made because you just can't be close enough to your tanks that will take damage that before you could eat, now you can't. It's not all doom and gloom for Deva though. If we see a situation where Arisa is still popular but Sigma isn't, we can see a lot more Arisa Roadhog being played at the very high tiers of the meta, in which case we're going to see a lot of Arisa Deva 2 to try and counter that. We saw a lot of that in the stage 4 of the Overwatch League, and I would definitely expect to see it again, especially as we go onto the supported DPS and the ones that have gone up in popularity there. Winston is also on the losers list for very similar reasons. I think the main one is, as we'll go over in the DPS heroes, the anti-tank heroes are still very good right now. All those heroes, Mega Reaper, Doomfist, really do shaft Winston in a way that he can't really deal with right now. He is better now than he was because of the PTR changes, but with those DPS heroes still being viable, it just makes it so easy to counter Winston off the face of the earth. It feels like it's just Harambe all over again at this point. Just really unfortunate. You want what's best for the ape, I guess. I think overall though, the tank slot is a big winner for everybody that decides to play it. The idea of off tank and main tank is a lot less staple now than it used to be. You might be able to run 2 off tanks and that being relatively meta. I think that's a really good aspect for the tanks to have right now, instead of having roles within roles like tanks have, and I think that's made it really annoying and difficult for people to play. It certainly put me off of playing tanks at the moment, but the tanks is the most important slot. I do want to go over the support to DPS very quickly to just sort of wrap up who's pretty good right now. I think the biggest winner of the supports is Baptiste, bar none. The fact that we have less barriers in the game means that Baptiste can get a lot more damage out, and we heard from Moth from the Overwatch League Grand Finals about a couple of months ago at this point now, where Baptiste was one of the meta picks in stage 4 because there was only one barrier to sort of fight against. As I mentioned before, a lot of teams ran Arisa Roadhog or Arisa Deva. If the enemy team is only having one barrier with the Arisa, you see a lot of shield break coming from the likes of Roadhog, something like Hanzo, and also, as I mentioned, Baptiste. So in the case that we see people running less Arisa Sigma, we're going to see a lot more Baptiste. His healing output is now one of the best in the game. He puts out a good portion of damage himself too. Immortality Field is one of the best abilities in the game, to a point where it might become a problem in the future. Baptiste is certainly one of just the best heroes in the game currently that is still not being played an awful lot. So get him under your belt. He is going to be amazing into the future, going into Season 20, to the point where I think people will complain that he's too obnoxiously good. So get ahead of the curve now if you want to learn him. Lucio as well. Wasn't buffed in this patch, but was buffed recently with how effective he can be with speed boost. And with the tempo of the game increasing in a pretty big capacity, Lucio's popularity is just going to be as staple as it ever was. It's not like heroes like Mercy right now are doing really good at the moment, so in that main support role, or in that main support slot on a pro team, I can't see anybody else running anything but Lucio. I think Lucio also provides a good amount of healing, more so than people give him credit for, as somebody that plays a lot of Lucio at the moment, and the just bonuses that he provides, being able to peel for people on your team, especially against heroes like Reaper, May, Doomfist. Lucio surprisingly has a lot in his kit to be able to deal with them, not for himself but for other people too, and Sound Barrier is one of the best ultimates still in the game, and considering that Zenyatta isn't very popular at the moment, he is the only support hero that has a support ultimate that's strong, apart from maybe Brigitte, but we'll get to her. I can definitely see a future meta where Baptiste Lucio is the main lineup to use, but of course we can't really knock off Moira. Moira's healing per second has been reduced from 80 to 65 on the PTR. It's something that is noticeable and more impactful than you would probably guess. But the thing is that still in this kind of meta, Moira is too good to run, I think. The amount of stuff that she provides now and how people have realized that she's actually quite good. I see it being worse and less popular, especially in comparison to heroes like Baptiste, but I don't really see her going too far down the list. Not with how easy it is for her to just not die and stay in the fight for like a billion years. And it allows people that enjoy playing Moira to continue playing her and still do a decent amount. With players that don't necessarily like playing Moira, don't have to, therefore they don't complain about how broken the hero is. And then we get into all discussions about her damage orb and how that's overtaking the world at this point. Moira is fine, I think, at the moment. If you want to keep playing her, keep playing her. If you don't want to, you won't have to, I don't think, going into the future. Anna as well, I would say, is a winner. Much like Reinhardt, like I mentioned, she is always very popular. She was a lot worse in a double barrier meta, as we highlighted in the Season 19 video, where there's so many barriers to break, and your team is sort of pushing beyond that because they're running the likes of Reaper and Maid at a bit more close quarters and want to push past the barriers. You don't really have a way to heal them. You have to get very clever and creative to get your shots or grenades past those barriers, which can get you killed in a lot of cases. With less barriers in the game, it means more opportunities for Annas to shine. So I say while she hasn't been buffed herself on this PTR patch, she does benefit a huge amount from less barriers. Heroes that I wanted to mention that aren't winners or losers would have to be Mercy and Brig, both of which are pretty good. They're fine. If you are a Mercy one trick, you can still play her and do a good amount. If you are a Brigitte one trick or want to be, you can make that happen, as we spoke to Violet earlier last week about how to really do that. Both these heroes are fine in the right situations. They can be really bad in others. Of course, you can't one trick a hero and expect to do well all of the time. But if you want to add both of these heroes to your support arsenal, you can definitely do that. You just gotta look for the right calls and the right stuff on your team. Brigitte especially, Brig Lucio could be a thing in the future. I think pro teams need to really play with that and see for themselves. But yeah, keep an eye on Brig. It's quite interesting to see where she is at the moment. I was going to say that Zenyatta would be the only loser on this list, but actually I'm not too sure. He could be one of the biggest winners. There's a lot of damage being thrown out at the moment, and with less barriers it means that there's going to be a lot of crossfire. Zenyatta is a brittle old bot, much like myself, so he can be domed quite frequently if he's not careful. He doesn't really provide too much healing himself, and heroes like Baptiste and Moira could do a lot of that. But the Discord Orb and the damage that Zenyatta could do himself, we could very much be going back to a Zen Baptiste meta like we did in Stage 4, so if we go back there, then yeah, Zenyatta's going to be really good. It's just it hasn't really come to fruition, and I haven't really seen many pro players, top 500 streamers really bring it up or mention it as anything to be concerned or interested at. So that's why he's not really on my list of winners or losers. He's just doing okay right now, but keep an eye on him for sure. And now finally going onto the DPS, to avoid going over like the 20 heroes or whatever that's in the DPS slot at this point, I do want to break them down into mostly 3 different groups of DPS heroes, as 2 of these groups are definitely winners. The first are hit scan heroes. Less barriers means that more shots get through, so the likes of Ashe, Hanzo, Widow, McCree and Soldier all benefit from being able to fire through more open air and shooting less into barriers where their damage wouldn't do much. Widow was nerfed, preemptively it seems, because Blizzard know that Widowmaker is going to go up in popularity with less barriers. So that's a pretty good thing to have going at the moment. Makes sense that all of the other snipers in the game would have similar things going on, Hanzo especially, very popular in Stage 4 on payload maps. I would expect that to return in some capacity, but it will be nice to see McCree and Soldier going into a meta where they actually look like they can do something, unlike before. The next set of heroes are the anti-tank heroes. The ones that were so popular beforehand are still going to be popular now. Mei, Doomfist, Reaper, all of which weren't nerfed in any capacity on this patch. Makes me wonder why, honestly. They were all really strong then, and they're all really going to be strong now, to the point that they've really made dive heroes not viable right now. As far as losers for DPS heroes, I don't really think there's many. Even heroes like Torbjorn and Symmetra are pretty decent right now and have been buffed recently. Symmetra can really come in as an underdog to an extent too, considering that she has the best barrier in the game now with her ultimate, and I could see teams maybe rallying towards that for the future with how strong it can be. Even nerfed recently, it's still very good and in need of barriers. Symmetra might be a girl. Sombra is on the list of maybe winners. I don't think it takes Sombra much to become a really strong option. It's a slow and gradual thing, and then suddenly Sombra is really meta and there's only so much that you can do to stop it. So we'll have to see on that front. Much like Brigitte, it's worth keeping a close eye on Sombra and her pick rate because it might just shoot up out of nowhere, and if you are a Sombra player, then have fun. Dive heroes, I wouldn't even necessarily say that they're losers. Tracer's pretty good. Genji is a lot better now with the buff that he had on the PTR, but nothing stand out. Dive DPS won't really come back maybe until dive tanks do, but then again, you can run Arisa, Roadhog and Genji Trace as your DPS. You could do that. Amount of freedom that's in the game with viability is pretty incredible. It's only at the top tier and like the top 5% of players that get stuck playing the same 6 to 7 heroes, but I feel to an extent that's every game. We spoke about this recently with the PTR patch. Blizzard have gone away from trying to make this constantly switching hero balance game to everything is viable, and if you're good at these heroes you can climb, and I think for the majority of the player base that's a really good thing. If you want to just play Moira because you don't want to play Lucio or Mercy or Baptiste or whatever, you can do. If you just want to play Arisa instead of Reinhardt or Wrecking Ball, you can do, and probably have a lot more fun doing so. If you want to play Deva again, you can do. She's not the best, but going into a meta like this, you might be able to exploit enemy players just by how good you are on Deva. You might want to play Winston a lot. In the right situations and the right time, that's certainly a fine thing to do. Play any of the dive heroes, the anti-dive heroes, the hit scans, the projectiles. Everything is viable at the moment to an extent. And for the majority of us, that's all we really need. None of us are the pro scene, or the 0.1% at the top 500. So let's stop pretending that this game is awfully balanced and that a lot of stuff is viable. Like, I think at that point you're just making yourself miserable by assuming that. A lot of things can go at the moment, and I think definitely take advantage of that. And especially going into a meta where nobody's really sure where it's going to go, have fun with it, experiment, try out stuff yourself, and we'll keep you updated if anything stands out that you should maybe want to try. But that's everything I wanted to go over. On screen is a quick video of my setup at home. Like I said, I'm back in Yorkshire, and I really did want to shout out the Omen by HP laptops. We have the Omen 15 laptops, which I've seen a lot of reviews for being incredibly good from, you know, actual PC review sites. And I would agree. I've been able to make this video on it. I've been able to record some gameplay of Overwatch in the background. I played some CSGO. I've even streamed off this laptop in the past. So it's fair to say I wouldn't be able to make any of this content without the Omen laptop here, so big shout out to them. They make some good stuff, and maybe, I have no idea at this point, but maybe there might be a big Black Friday sale on laptops like this, so do keep an eye out. We'll let you know on Twitter and stuff at HitscanYT in case you don't follow. But yeah, it's Thanksgiving this week, and I just wanted to say that we're very thankful for them, even though we're EU and we don't celebrate a very weird holiday. But in any case, enjoy. I don't know, I'm just rambling. Thanks for watching, take care, we'll see you next time.